So before I start this video, I'm going to, of course, be talking about my duffel bag, which was the third installment of these 3 videos that I was going to walk around my bike and stuff. The reason that this one looks drastically different than the other 2 videos is that, unfortunately, the time between those 2 videos that I made, essentially in the same day, and this video, there was a storm that came through and destroyed the guest house that I was staying in. And so I had to be transplanted to another hostel that had too many people in there. I couldn't really do any videos like this. But luckily they rebuilt most of the guest house and got all the water out of the places that were flooded. And luckily there was 2 rooms that me and the owner could stay in. So we're back in the guest house, but it's a different room. I just wanted to kind of relay that message on this of why it looks so drastically different. Anyways, the reason I wanted to do this video is because this bag has basically most of my life in it. Actually, everything that's important in my life as of now is in this bag. And it means a lot to me, so I just wanted to kind of do a video on just this. So one thing about this North Face bag is it isn't a North Face bag. This is a knockoff that I bought for $12.50 in Vietnam about 5 years ago. And I bought it in the thoughts of just having a bag to carry my souvenirs for that trip. I was running low on my actual backpack space-wise, so I bought this to just bring most of my stuff on the plane instead of on a checked bag. So I bought this thinking that I was just going to throw it away at the end, so I didn't really care about the quality or anything. But surprisingly, this quality is actually really good, and I am convinced that this is actually a real North Face bag that somehow I bought in Vietnam. So either way, it's been a very good bag. It's water resistant. I have actually never got water inside, including the time that I got stuck in a flood in Malaysia. Never got any sort of water in the bag itself. I do have this REI rain cover that is meant for my backpack, but it actually fits perfectly on this. And that's actually just hanging on here at all times. It makes it easy so I don't have to go through anything. I can basically just grab it out of here, wrap the bag, and we should be good to go. Another thing that's hanging on this bag, actually there's a lot of things that are hanging on this bag. This is my let's see if I can turn this over. This is actually my Bluetooth headset. It always stays here because I want it to come with me, but I also want to throw it in if I'm on the bike or if I'm going for a walk. It's kind of out here hanging, and nobody really knows what it is. It just looks like it looks like it holds contact solution or something. I do have a lock that locks this bag, kind of keeps people honest. And then I also, this holds my hat when I'm riding the bike because I usually ride with a helmet. And then on this side is for my flip-flops. This hook's always there and it fits perfectly. It's just big enough so I can get both the loops of my flip-flops in, and my flip-flops just dangle on this side. I also have this bag, which is my day bag, believe it or not. This is for when I'm walking around cities or towns or whatever. If I'm going shopping, didn't want to bring this bag. This is a full-fledged, I don't know how big it is, but it's like a 20 liter, which is a day bag. And it's ultra-light, it's Cetus on it, and it works really well. I also have on these straps that actually kind of cinch down what's inside. I hold my poles for my tent. So they're always with me, which is kind of a bother because this duffel bag is also a backpack. It has straps for the backpack, and those kind of, every once in a while, they can kind of dig into your back if you're using this for a long period of time. So I also have on this side, I have another bag here, and this is actually a tarp. It's I think it's a 5x3 tarp, and I usually put it, if I need a wind block when I'm camping, I can wrap it around trees and hold it steady. The last time I used it, I did kind of, it was a little too steady, and I ripped a couple of the holes. But it's a very cheap tarp for if I need to cover the tent. The tent is bright orange. If I'm in an area that I'm kind of stealth camping, I can put this tarp over my entire tent, and it's kind of a dark green color, so it kind of blends into the wilderness. I've used it a few times. I've never actually used it for stealth camping. I've used it mainly as a wind block or whatever I need it for. If I need to put cover so I can cook or something like that in the rain. I've done that a couple times as well. It's very handy, but it's one of those things that I've only used a couple times, but those couple times were definitely worth it, so I never get rid of it. So that's what's on the side of the bags. This actually changes a lot, what hangs on this bag and stuff, just because, you know, different countries mean different things that I need right as I'm going. I haven't really done any changes on this bag while I've been in Laos, but I did change it up a little bit between Australia and Malaysia, and then Malaysia to Thailand, depending on what was going on. So now I'm going to get into the inside of the bag. There is a pocket that I want to get to first before I start taking out these bags. So I want to show you that next. So of course these zippers aren't waterproof, they do have a flap over it, and like I said, I usually, if it's raining and I'm on the bike, usually cover it up really well, but they are security locked, so of course I have that lock back and lock it on there, and it just makes me feel a little bit safer, especially if this bag is just sitting in a hostel or something like that. It's all good to go. So this has a pocket inside here that is very useful, and it's mostly the stuff that I don't need right away, but eventually I need. So one thing is that I have a fairly well endowed first aid kit, and if you listen, I also put my collector's coins that I have collected on these countries, I put in there as well. But this is basically if everything hits the fan, this basically can get me out of any situation for myself or for another person. So really good to have. I've used it a few times for just minor things, but it's really nice to have. Another thing I have in here is a SOL survivor kit. So this was actually mainly for Australia. If worse comes to worse, this thing has everything from fishing line, a mirror to reflect if I'm in somewhere and I'm trying to get somebody's attention, a whistle, fire starter, compass, everything. And I bought this. This is another thing that I thought that I will never ever open. And I thought that when I bought it. So I just wanted something that I could fall back on, but hopefully in this entire trip I never have to open this or use anything in it. So it's really good to have. I recommend these two things no matter what you're doing. If you're just taking a backpacking trip, you're going on a road trip, these two, and it doesn't need to be these exact things, but first aid kit and an SLL kit, or a kind of a wilderness survival kit, and then train yourselves on them. I have somewhat of training on both these things, so I can definitely get myself out of a situation where I need to. The other thing I have is kind of a paranoia thing, is this is a coin bag from Australia, because they use a lot of coins over there, and actually it depends on the country. This country actually uses nothing but paper. I've never seen a coin, but most countries use coins. So I got a coin purse, and this helped a lot in Australia because then I didn't have coins all over my pockets and stuff, especially while riding. I have another wallet, and this is actually a decoy wallet. If I'm around a big city or something like that, these have dummy credit cards and license that's or expired license. I do hold my, at this moment, I hold my cash in here, so I'm not carrying all my cash with me. And this is just a decoy. So if somebody mugs me or pickpockets me, they get whatever cash is in this thing and some dummy credit cards. So they're satisfied if they ask you for your wallet and you give it to them. Diffuses the whole situation. Same thing with this. This has, of course, right now it just has just some trinkets and stuff like that that I had no other space for. But it does hold my important credit card and my debit card from 2 different accounts, and I kind of store them away in 3 different locations. Like I said, it's different now, but when I'm traveling or when I'm on the go, I put these in 3 different locations so they don't get all my stuff. I have a fallback in any one of these. Another thing that I do is I put one of these USB plugs. This is a plug that can be used in pretty much any part of Asia. And I do have adapters for this thing, but this is kind of a quick, if I need to charge my phone or charge whatever, I can plug this in and put a USB cord. Everything that I own goes off USB cord, except the camera that I'm actually using this on. So this is real handy to have, and it's in a good location. All my other equipment is in this bag, and it's really harder to get to, so that was really nice to have. I also have a face mask. This is for colder weather, and that goes around to my face when I'm riding and stuff like that to help out in the coldness and stuff like that. I also have one of these little sleeping iPad things. This is really nice to have, usually on the airplane or if I'm on a hostel. But every once in a while if I'm in a tent or something like that, it's nice to have as well. I also have earplugs as well somewhere in this, and they're very nice to have, especially in a hostel. Another thing is this is my passport and everything important. I might even have a condom in there, which, anyways, I put everything in one Ziploc bag, and I actually did this just recently while I was here in Laos. I just decided, I had them all in separate locations, and this time I have it all in one, and it's in a waterproof Ziploc bag. I also have extra rope in here if I need to hang up the tarp that I have, or if I just need extra line for if I'm doing all my clothes all at once and I'm in the wilderness. That's easy to have. And I also have a very special memento. My friend PJ, that is a police officer in Tukwila in my home state, he gave me a patch before I left, and I told him that it would be my little lucky charm. I've yet to find a place to actually put it on somewhere, but I have it in this pocket and it never leaves. I take a couple pictures when I'm going around places, and send it just to him, just to show him that I'm thinking about him. So now that I've gone through this bag, or this zipper, this is actually my main stuff. So I did want to show you, even though this is on my phone, and it looks kind of grainy, and it doesn't sound the same as what's on my camera. My camera is actually sitting here on my flip-flops to kind of stabilize it on my spare bed in this room. But I kind of wanted to show you how this was packed. This is, of course, like my toiletry bag. I got a towel in here. Then I got all these space bags for my, this is my underwear, my shirts. I have this bag, which I'll go through here in a second. But that holds all my podcast equipment. And I have my camera case. And I also have this bag, which is my electronic bag, which I'll go through here in a minute. And this is a bag full of my shorts, pants, and everything else that doesn't fit in the other bags. And then I have at the bottom of here my computer in a vacuum packed bag. So if something happens and I get submerged in water, it doesn't get damaged. So I went ahead and took out everything and wanted to show you what was in that duffel bag. So first off, the thing that's always on top is my toiletry bag, which is actually a replica version of that duffel bag that I had. This is actually a real North Face bag I got, but it's a really simple, it hangs, there's a hook here, there's also a mirror, but it holds all my toothbrush, my shaver, deodorant, all that stuff. So this simple stuff that everybody usually has when they're camping, but basically I'm living out of that. So I also have this, which is a towel that I've had the entire trip. It's a full-fledged, like almost like a beach towel. But it works really well because it's one of those quick dry fabrics, and they don't actually sell these anymore. And if they do, they're usually super expensive. I got this for really cheap, and I love this thing. Other than it does get smelly after a while, but everything does. Another thing I have is this, which is actually I forgot the name, Rumple, which is a brand that I don't really like too much, but they made these. These were a pillow that you put a coat in, and that was basically your pillow for the night if you were camping out in the wilderness or something like that. And this folds up really, really nice and tight. But this has all my podcast equipment. So when I'm doing podcasts, I basically carry everything in this. There's too much stuff in here, so I'm not going to pull them all out. There is actually a microphone in here as well that works excellent, but I decided to reuse this pillow, and it basically secures everything in this. And I learned that none of this is kind of water resistant. It's not sealed, but a lot of this fabric just basically, the water just kind of comes off. It doesn't absorb too much. So I learned that in the storm that recently passed. So really good to know. Then I have this. This is actually what I'm doing this on. This is my camera bag. This was something I bought in Thailand. I don't know why I bought this, but I got it for a really cheap price. And I've had it for years, and I've used it to carry this camera and a few other cameras that I've had. And I've used this actually to go into a couple of the boats in Koh Tao in Thailand. And I have a strap that goes around it, and I had it submerged in water, and none of the stuff got wet. It's a true waterproof bag, a dry sack, and it's all made out of rubber. It's really nice. Definitely recommend getting something like this if you are going out in the woods and you have camera equipment. This is definitely good to have. Another thing I have is, this is my electronics bag. This basically holds everything. It's super heavy, and it's everything that I kind of need. Everything from a charger, which is this charger for this camera, the battery, to like the chargers for my laptop, and even my favorite thing in here is an Anchor. I think this is called the multi-port, or the something port. But it has 5 USB ports, and comes with this, and I have a little adapter, and it plugs in to anything or anywhere I'm at. I can plug it in. I can do all my lights if I need to. I can do all my, like my cell phone, my external battery, all that stuff. All comes into this, and this does get quite hot. This is an older model of what it is. One great thing I like about this is that there is no lights, so I can put this in a hostel, plug it all in, and it's not lighting up the entire room. It's one thing that I hate about the newer stuff. Everything has lights these days, but this has a few other things. It actually has, hopefully you can see this, but it has little spots for your wires, and it also has spots for the smaller stuff that you can put into a zipped area here. Put all my SD cards in if I need to. Another thing I have in here is my GoPro. If you notice, there's no case on this GoPro. This GoPro is probably the most useless thing that I've brought on this trip. I've had nothing but problems with this thing, and I'll probably do an article on my website about a few things that I brought with me that were completely useless. Some of them I don't have anymore. This I'm keeping because unfortunately I'm still on this trip a year in, and I'm not able to get a hold of GoPro to talk to them about how crappy this thing is. One last thing that's in here that's a electronic is my laptop. And this is a really good way. I didn't do this until halfway through the trip, but this is a vacuum pack that I was using to store a couple of my clothes while I go to the airport. So I'm not bringing my entire bag full of clothes, I'm just bringing a bag, just one little bag. That didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to. That's usually something that happens on your trips, is you find some sort of thing that didn't work out the way you planned it. But I kept this vacuum pack sealed. I was actually about ready to throw it away. I think he even had it in the dumpster. And I realized, oh, I have a really good way of storing and keeping my laptop waterproof without having some fancy case that would take up too much space. I also have in here important stuff like my passport photos, and then I also have an engagement present. It's a postcard that unfortunately I never got sent out for my best friend that just recently got engaged. So when he sees this video, if he does see this video, he knows what his engagement present is, and it's probably going to be handed to him instead of mailed to him. Anyways, so yeah, so it's really good to have, and that was a MacBook Air. Nothing fancy. It edits my videos and my podcasts. So now these 3 bags are my clothes. These are all the clothes other than what I'm wearing right now. And I put them all in these little cube things that I've had since I started my trip. These are very durable. They're Eagle Creek. Very durable. They're supposed to be the lightweight versions of these bags. I know that they have different ones now. Actually, this is a different one, but they look exactly the same. But there's little differences with these. But yeah, so this is my underwear bag. So I know a lot of people are wondering, how much clothes do I bring? So I bring 3 pairs of underwear, and unfortunately, one of my underwears has decided to kind of get a little bit bigger than what I can wear. These are ex officio underwear. I definitely recommend these no matter what. They're a local brand. They're based out of Seattle, and this underwear is like 6 or 7 years old, and I've worn them only on these trips. So when I'm home, I don't really need to wear them, but they're moisture wicking. They don't hold any odor. They're quick dry, so if you need to wash them in the sink, you can hang them up. They're dry, and pretty much any temperature, they're dry within an hour. They're really nice to have. I have 3 pairs of them, which, yes, I know it's kind of disgusting, especially riding a bicycle, but it works for me. I also have a couple pairs of socks in this, being that I wear one of the pairs of underwear, I have a lot of space. So these are my underwear and socks. These are my shirts. So I brought 5 pairs of shirts originally. I had a shirt made. It's a sleeveless shirt in Australia, and it has my logo on it and my podcast logo on it. And I don't have any sleeveless shirts, so this was really something I wanted. I also have a long sleeve thermal shirt, which actually looks very thin. It's like it's a very thin material, but it's actually the hottest thing I have, and I hate wearing it, especially on laundry day. It's the last thing I usually wear. I hate it because it does hold in the heat really well, and here in Laos, where it's 90 degrees most of the time, it does get irritating. But I did bring, of course, I brought this shirt, which a lot of people were asking why I wear Captain America stuff. That's a big story, but I do have two of these. So they were wondering why I wear it all the time. It's because I have two different pairs. So one's clean, one's usually dirty. And I kind of roll these in really tightly, but I also have these Columbia. They don't make these anymore. Columbia made these Omni-Freeze shirts, which are just pathetic. They're great, but they were supposed to keep you cool. They don't. But they are a very good material, and these clothes are great to wear while cycling and to walk around town. I don't look like a cyclist ever, but they're moisture wicking. They don't hold that many odors. These were my workout shirts when I was going to the gym back at home. So that was something that I really enjoyed having when I was back home, and decided to just bring a couple pairs of those, and they've worked great so far. This far into the trip, these shirts, after this trip, these shirts are probably going to go in the trash because I've used and wore out them, but they don't have any holes, and they're holding their shape really well. They are kind of getting stinky, but that's all part of the process. So this last bag is my big bag, and this has pretty much a lot of random stuff. So I'm going to go ahead. So one thing about this bag is that there's this bag here, then if you flip it over, you have zippers for another bag in the back. The original plan of why I bought this was for actually camping back home. This held all my clean pants and shirts, and this was my dirty clothes bag. It's not the same way this time around, but this has my swimming trunks. They also hold, of course, these Fox Racing shorts. I definitely recommend these Fox Racing shorts. I think they're called like Warhogs or something like that. But they're great to walk around in, and they're also super ventilating. They have zippers here for ventilation. Really good to have. I have these are Wrangler's quick dry shorts. I don't like the color because, of course, anything that drops on them stains. But they are really nice to have. I usually use these as my walk around town here in Southeast Asia. These are my shorts that I walk around town in, so I'm not smelling like a bicyclist. I also have a pair of pants in here, and then all the rest of my socks go out below this little area, and this has a little tiny ventilation thing, so these socks kind of get the most air. And then on the other side of this is something I don't really get to that often. I do have riding underwear in here, and I also have these long riding shorts, just in case, with the padding and stuff in them. They're both Gore, but they're two very different padding, so I have two different things to go by. If I'm doing a multiple day trip, it'd be nice to have a thicker one in one day, a thinner one in the next, so I'm not getting any sores and stuff like that around where the pads are. But I also have all my winter clothes in this. I do get asked, why do I carry winter clothes when I haven't been in cold weather for a long period of time? And that's because I'm not going to rebuy these once it does get cold again. I am guaranteed to be riding in cold weather at the end of this trip. So I have a pair of these are actually long underwear, but they're shaped like just basically gym pants, basically. But I can walk around town in them, which is really nice. And I can also ride in these. I can't ride in my jeans. It's almost impossible to ride in jeans. But I can wear these if it's a really, really cold day. I also have a thermal shirt, another thermal shirt that I bought in Australia, and a thermal coat that I have in here, which hasn't been out in a while. Actually, this is the first time in about probably about 7 months that this has been out. But this is a very unique, brand of clothing that keeps in heat really well, but you can't wear it alone. So I have to have another coat with it, but definitely does the job if it's really cold. And then of course I have actual long underwear that was actually too small for me when I bought them, and they probably work perfectly now. So that is this big bag, and that basically is everything that I have in my duffel bag. And you know, it's might be a little bit more than what most usually bring with them on a trip, especially a cycling trip, but this is very limited. If you think about what you bring with you or what you have in your house just living at home, you probably can open up a drawer and have 50 shirts and 20 different, pants and stuff like that. I'm only limited on maybe 4 or 5 of those. 4 or 5 shirts, 3 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of pants, and 3 pairs of shorts. So I am happy with what I have. Everything that I have in this bag is basically been boiled down. I've had more and I've had less, and that's where I bought these things on the trip. But it definitely works for me. So I got one last bag. This goes on top of the duffel bag on the back of the bike. And I'm not going to take this out because it is a bear, but believe it or not, this bag has 3 pairs of shoes in it. There is my chrome clipless Converse style biking shoes. I can walk around town, don't look like a bicyclist. I'm not popping and doing all that stuff when I'm walking around town like a lot of these bicyclists do with their biker shoes. But there's those. There's a pair of 510s, which are my downhill mountain bike shoes. They're basically look like skater shoes. And those are the ones that I rarely ride with, but I can. And I also, if it's a colder temperature and I'm wearing shoes, those are the shoes that I'm usually wearing. And I also have a pair of running shoes that are aqua shoes that Adidas made, and I got them for a really good price in Malaysia. And they're really nice, especially with this whole storm that happened. I put those on and they're guarded, so I'm not going to step on shards of glass or something like that. It's going to go through my toes, but I can also walk and wake through water if I needed to, and they dry pretty quick. So this bag is basically I hang extra stuff on them if I need to, and this just kind of hangs off to the back. And I got this bag, this is one of my favorite bags. Sea to Summit makes most of my dry bags, but this one's really nice because of course it's yellow, which of course matches my automobile back home. But it also is kind of a high vis, and it's the thing that's on top no matter if it's raining or not. It's always on top of the back of the bike, so it's kind of added visibility. So very much enjoy that, and that's pretty much all I have. So in conclusion to all 3 of these videos, I did get a few questions on this trip that I kind of want to answer on this video. First off is the bike. A lot of people ask me, being that I take so much care of this bike and it's always with me, and I've kind of got a bond through this 11 months of me being on this bike, or on and off this bike. I did want to mention that the most questions I get asked is, oh, do you have a name for it? And I do, actually. I've never really posted it up. I used to call it the Bum. It's a story with my family, but or mostly just a joke. But I do call it Colleen, and Colleen is a lady back home in my hometown that I look up to, and she was one of my mentors in this whole process of getting things ready. And she just amazes me of what she can do. She's bicycled all around the world. She's probably cycling right now as I speak, going around America or Canada or wherever. But she's upper ages. I don't know exactly how old she is, but I know that she's retired, and she basically spends most of her time on a bicycle, and she amazes me. And it just seemed fitting that Colleen, which is her, was a good name for this bike. She doesn't know that I call it Colleen, and she probably will watch this video and figure that out. Another thing is a few things that I missed on the bike. One major thing is I have a bicycle pump that is basically integrated to the frame, goes on, and it's really nice. I don't know if I brought it up in the video. I'll look back at it. If I did, I'll just delete this, but if I didn't, yeah, there's a bicycle pump. It's a Crank Brothers bicycle pump, and it works really well. Basically just, I get asked like how many times have I camped on this trip, and I've camped probably about 90% of the time. When I was in Australia, I was camping, other than when I was, when I took extended breaks somewhere. There's very rarely do I find hostels or any affordable places to stay. When the weather was really bad, then I'll just swallow $20, $30 a night at a hotel and just stay in the hotel. It was beneficial in the end, because sometimes you can't dry those clothes because it's raining throughout the whole trip. So, but yeah, so 90% of the time I was in the tent, camping out. And also I get asked, of course I get asked like how many pairs of whatever I have with me. But I also get asked of like how long does it take for me to get a laundry done. And that takes, I can go a couple weeks without doing laundry. I'm not a pleasant person to be around at that point, but I usually try to do laundry once every 2 weeks. I have enough clothes that I can alternate through, and if it's not super hot, or if I'm not rushing through biking, I can go about 2 weeks. But if I'm biking and stuff, probably about a week or at least 4 days before I'm either finding a place where I can, do my laundry, or jumping in a sink and just basically washing in the sink and drying it while I'm sleeping. So, but yeah, so I really enjoy, getting asked all these random questions. And if you do have a question, be sure to go on my Instagram, and you can, post it. You can send me a DM or just post it on one of my pictures if you needed to. Of course, go on to my website. There's a little comment page there. I take a look at those every once in a while. But yeah, so I enjoy answering people's questions. I'm not a full-fledged, down to the nitty-gritty type of tour biker, but I am a tour biker, no matter what people think. I'm happy that I could do these videos. It's very odd sitting in front of a camera. I'm used to being in front of a mic, so definitely take a look at, or go take a listen at my podcast, Out of Routine Productions, on basically any place that you can find a podcast. Of course, keep up with me on my website, outofroutine.com, or Out of Routine Productions, at Out of Routine Productions on Instagram, and of course on my YouTube channel. And I'll try to do as many videos as I can, just kind of, doing whatever I'm doing, and I'll post them up when I can. So thanks for watching.